Hello all, welcome to Mysterious Knowledge Texts. Close contact in Norrtalje. A guy with the pseudonym Miguel had a close encounter with grey aliens between the 20th and 21st of January 2008 in a forest near the city of Norrtalje in Sweden. Miguel was born in Honduras and came to Sweden in 1988. He was 47 years old when this happened. He had a wife and 4 children. First encounter, January 20, 2008. 47-year-old Honduran immigrant Miguel is driving about 5 km east of Norrtalje on the south side of Norrtalje Bay. Suddenly a very bright light appears and it lights up the road and the woods beside it. The light is a combination of yellow, white, blue and is moving quickly. Miguel wonders if it could be a helicopter. He stops the car and get out, but by then the light had already disappeared. Miguel climbs into the car again, and when he sits down he hears a voice in his head ordering him to drive. It is not like a normal voice, but some form of telepathic communication. The voice tells Miguel where to drive to, and after a few miles he arrives at a place near Norrtalje Bay and parks there. After standing for a few minutes outside his car, Miguel hears a loud humming sound resembling that of a generator. He looks up and sees a saucer-shaped object with a light in the middle. The color of the craft is aluminum silver. Afraid, he shouts, "It's not possible, God help me." At this point a beam of light comes from the base of the craft towards the ground. Inside the beam there is a creature that begins to approach the car. The creature stops at about 8 to 10 meters away while the beam is withdrawn into the craft. Miguel wants to run away or jump back into the car, but he is somehow paralyzed. The being is now closer to Miguel and he sees that it has large dark slanting eyes, on a large head with a high forehead. It has long thin arms with 4 fingers on each. It also has some kind of protrusion of the middle of its forehead. Miguel does not see any ears, and only 2 small holes for a nose. The creature is hairless, lacks sexual organs and is completely naked. The feet resemble that of a duck. At this point the being says in perfect Spanish and in a man's voice, "Do not be afraid, I will not hurt you," and places his hand on Miguel's shoulder. The hand feels very hard and heavy. The following conversation then ensues. Miguel: "Oh, my God, who are you? Are you God or an angel?" Creature: "We are not gods or angels. My name is Horo and I'm from Reticulum 4, a planet very far from Earth. For a long time you have been selected to get to know us. Some of your ancestors had contact with us and now is the time to send a message to humanity. You will have to reach around the world and then spread it further. There are already people who are prepared to help you, and with their help you can get the message across." Miguel then asks if he can touch the creature. Horo says yes and Miguel touches the creature's arm. It feels a bit hot and hard like boneless meat. Miguel then asks if he can ride in their craft, but the answer is no. The creature explains that they will be in contact in the future to protect and assist in various ways. After an approximately 20-minute conversation, the creature orders Miguel to return to the same place the day after at 1500 hours. The craft, which had not been seen during the conversation, suddenly appears again, shooting the light beam to the ground. The creature then floats up into the craft then disappears at lightning speed. When Miguel gets home he feels very upset and is unable to sleep that night. Second encounter, January 21, 2008. The next day, Miguel, involved in the previous encounter on January 20, returns to the agreed location. Once outside his vehicle he sees the disc-shaped object come out of the waters of Norrtalje Bay and hover close to the shore. 3 creatures exit the craft and approach Miguel. They seem to be able to glide over the water. The 2 new creatures introduce themselves as Zyros and Andrak. Andrak is slightly shorter than the other 2. Miguel learns that the creatures have been visiting Earth from Reticuli 4, an alleged 4th planet orbiting Zeta Reticuli, for several thousand years, but live here on Earth in secret bases in the sea and the mountains. They want to help us and assist researchers in different ways. Earlier they had helped Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein. He was told that something very important will happen in medicine and physics in 2012. After 2020 there will be open contact with the space people. We must prepare ourselves. They have been aware of Miguel and had contact with his relatives a long time ago. They had also contacted several others in Canada. Miguel was also informed that there are other alien groups visiting Earth from different planets. Some of them come here to kill animals and experiment with humans. The conversation with the three creatures continued for a long time. They talked about the situation on Earth, about their work, both in antiquity and today, about life on other planets, life and death, God and many other topics. After the contact the creatures returned back into their craft which then disappeared under the waters. Apparently Miguel had a camera during the second contact but was unable to use it. Miguel claims further telepathic contacts. Soon after Miguel drops out of sight and moves to the United States, apparently to Washington, D.C. I searched for physics and medicine discoveries in 2012 and found that two major discoveries were made in these fields. Physics, CERN discovered a subatomic particle called the Higgs boson, also known as the God particle, on July 4, 2012. It is the particle that gives all other fundamental particles mass. It will help scientists understand the mystery of dark matter and many other things. Medicine, Shinya Yamanaka, a Japanese stem cell researcher, won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for discovering how to transform ordinary adult skin cells into cells that, like embryonic stem cells, are capable of developing into any cell in the human body. This discovery will help finding solutions for curing diseases of the heart, diseases of the brain and diseases caused by deadly viruses. This is the full story from a Swedish ufology website. I used Google Translate to translate the article. Here it is. Close contact in Norrtalje. In UFO News No. 1, 2008, Tobias Lindgren briefly presented a strange case of contact that came into the report center. We had a man 2 times, 20 and January 21, 2008, observed a saucer-shaped vessel just outside Norrtalje and contacted by the creatures on board. I called the man to try to do a more detailed investigation, but it did not turn out to be that easy. Miguel, pseudonym, was born in Honduras and came to Sweden in 1988. He is today 47 years old, has a wife and 4 children. Just before 18:00 on January 20, 2008, Miguel arrives in his car about 5 kilometers east of Norrtalje, on the south side of Norrtaljeviken. Suddenly a very bright light appears. It lights up the road and the forest next door. The light is a combination of yellow, white, blue and moves quickly. Miguel wonders if it could come from a helicopter. Miguel steps into the car again, and when he sits down he hears a voice in his head ordering him to drive. It's not like a normal voice but some form of communication. The voice says drive left and later continue. After a couple of kilometers, he arrives at a place next to Norrtaljeviken and parks there. After standing for a few minutes next to the car, Miguel hears a buzzing sound as from a generator. He looks up and sees a saucer-shaped object with a candle in the middle. The color of the craft is similar to aluminum or silver. He gets scared and says to himself, "A flying saucer, it is not possible, God help me." A light comes from the lower part of the vessel and is directed towards the ground. In the beam of light, a creature floats down and approaches the car. The creature stops at a distance of 8 to 10 meters at the same time as the light beam is drawn back into the craft. Miguel wants to run from there or throw himself into the car again, but he is somehow paralyzed. The creature gets closer and looks at Miguel with big dark, crooked eyes. The length is 140 to 150 centimeters. It has a large head with a high forehead and long narrow arms with 4 fingers. There is also a thing in the middle of the forehead. No nose is visible, Only 2 small holes and no ears. The creature is hairless, has no genitals and is completely naked. The feet are reminiscent of a duck. "Do not be afraid, I will not hurt you," says the creature with a male voice in perfect Spanish and puts his hand on Miguel's shoulder. The hand feels very hard. "Miguel, Lord God, who are you? Are you God or an angel?" The creature: "We are neither God nor angels. My name is Horos and I come from Reticulum 4, a planet very far from Earth. A long time ago, you were selected to get to know us. Some of your ancestors had contact with us and now is the time to convey a message to humanity. You cannot reach the whole world but a large group and then spread it further. There are already people who have been prepared to help you and with their help you can spread the message." Note: there is apparently a drawing mistake, the eyes are black not red. Miguel asks if he can touch the creature. Horos answers yes and Miguel touches the creature's arm. It is a little warm and feels like hard meat without bones. Miguel also asks if he can join the craft but it is not possible. The creature explains that they will be in contact in the future and also protect and help in various ways. After a conversation about 20 minutes long, Miguel is ordered to return to the same place the day after 15.00. The craft has not been seen during the chat, but it reappears and the beam of light is directed towards the ground, whereby the creature floats up in the same way as it came down. The craft then disappears in a flash, as when you turn off the light. When Miguel comes home, he is very upset and calls the psychiatric emergency room. What he gets in return has not been revealed. He has difficulty sleeping at night. The next day, January 21st, Miguel returns to the agreed place at 15.00. Now he sees the same vessel coming out of the water in Norrtalje. 3 creatures approach and seem to walk a bit on top of the water. This time a calmer conversation takes place. The 2 new creatures introduce themselves as Zyros and Andrak. Andrak is slightly shorter than the other 2. Miguel finds out that the creatures came to Earth from Reticuli 4 several thousand years ago but live here on Earth in secret bases under the sea and in mountains. They want to help us and assist researchers in various ways. In the past, they have helped Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein. Something very important will happen in medicine and physics in 2012. After 2020, there will be very open contact with space people. We have to prepare. They know Miguel well and had contact with his relatives a long time ago. They have also contacted several others in Sweden. The creatures want Miguel to contact church leaders and tell them that the space creatures are here. He also receives information that there are other extraterrestrial groups visiting Earth from different planets. Some space creatures come here and kill animals and do experiments with humans. The conversation with the 3 creatures continues for a long time. They talk about the situation on Earth, about their work both in ancient times and today, about life on other planets, life and death, God and many other subjects. Then the creatures disappear in the same way as they came and the craft disappears into the water. At the other contact, Miguel had a camera with him and took several pictures. But they became strange except for the scene itself. Whether he tried to photograph the creatures has not been revealed. At the other contact, Miguel had a camera with him and took several pictures. But they became strange except for the scene itself. Whether he tried to photograph the creatures has not been revealed. At the other contact, Miguel had a camera with him and took several pictures. But they became strange except for the scene itself. Whether he tried to photograph the creatures has not been revealed. On January 22, 2008, the day after the second contact, Miguel calls UFO Sweden's report center and briefly explains the course of events for Tobias Lindgren, who summarizes the case in UFO News. I'll call Miguel on February 3 for more information. The communication becomes quite lame because Miguel has difficulty with the Swedish language and much of what he says remains unclear. He is nervous and worried about what happened to him and seems honestly wondering how to deal with his situation. Miguel knows nothing about UFOs and has never been interested in the subject. Possibly read something a long time ago. He feels he has telepathic contact with the creatures now, but also thinks he has heard their voice before. The day after our conversation, Miguel will see a psychologist. He obviously wants help from somewhere to assess his experiences. Asks me if he should call the police to find out if anyone else has seen the craft. I explain that he has to decide for himself. Miguel also says that he is now on sick leave. He used to have a computer company, but it did not go well. He has also worked as a pastor in a Baptist church for some time and has plans to travel to the United States, possibly for some pastoral education. On February 4th, Miguel sends me a short written account of his experiences. It is written in Spanish and translated into English with a translation program, which makes the account very unclear. He also sends several photos from the site and drawings of the craft and the creatures. I will call him again on February 5th, and he is very grateful that I take the time to listen to him. Miguel says that he sleeps badly and has gone out to the place of contact several times, but nothing more has happened by the lake. He is worried and unsure of what to do in his situation. Want my advice if he should go out in public and tell about the contact as the creatures said. I try to get him to take it easy, think about it and decide for himself how he should act. I suggest he bring a camera and tape recorder at the next contact. Want my advice if he should go out in public and tell about the contact as the creatures said. I try to get him to take it easy, think about it and decide for himself how he should act. I suggest he bring a camera and tape recorder at the next contact. Want my advice if he should go out in public and tell about the contact as the creatures said. I try to get him to take it easy, think about it and decide for himself how he should act. I suggest he bring a camera and tape recorder at the next contact. Miguel says that the night before our conversation, he received a telepathic message from the astronauts. They knew who I, HB, was and that I know a lot about UFOs. Miguel is happy for my support and we discuss what questions he should ask the creatures at the next contact. Among other things, I ask him if he can get the names of the others in Sweden they have contacted. He has not contacted the police again, nor the psychologist in Norrtalje. It's too much now, concludes Miguel. On February 9th, I will call Miguel again. He has been in contact with the police to find out if anything unusual was reported on January 20th and 21, but no report has been received by the police. He has also been in contact with Arlanda and some unit within the defense, but no one there knew of any incident. Miguel is now much calmer and sleeps better. He is now very motivated to spread the message of the space creatures and is thinking about how to reach church leaders, including within the Catholic Church. The church must prepare the public for future contacts, says Miguel. After the call on February 9th, we have some sporadic contacts, but then it becomes completely silent. No replies to emails and the phone number is disconnected. On April 18th, I finally get an email where Miguel tells me that he went to the United States on March 25th and is in Washington, probably the city. He is feeling well and has received telepathic messages from Horos that he must write and tell about his experiences. Miguel wants help with contacts within the unrest in the United States. After this email, I have not received any further contact with Miguel. I have tried to track him down but do not know if he is in Sweden or the USA. He does not respond to his previous email address. Of course, it's a little frustrating not to get carried away with this unusual accident. With so little data, it is difficult to make an assessment of this contact case. It follows the pattern of other similar events in other countries. Interestingly, the creatures have long since lived on Earth in secret bases. Their origin reticuli gives associations to other cases in ufology. Among other things, the ufologist Marjorie Fish claimed that the star map Betty Hill saw when she and her husband were taken on board an alien craft in 1961 shows that the creatures came from Zeta Reticuli. The same origin is also found in the controversial Bob Lazar's stories about his years in Area 51 in the USA. Zeta Reticuli is a binary solar system located approximately 39 light-years from Earth. It is located in the constellation Reticulum, the rhombic network, which can only be seen from the southern hemisphere. In many contact cases, the creatures present themselves with names from ancient mythology or religion. So also here where the first creature calls itself Horus. Horus was a celestial god in Egyptian mythology and is depicted as a man with a falcon's head. The American ufologist John Keel points out in his book Operation Trojan Horse, chapter The Cosmic Jokers, that UFOnets often take names from ancient angels and demons. He calls the phenomenon the name game. Hopefully Miguel will return to Sweden. In that case, I look forward to doing an in-depth investigation of the whole story. Until then, the case remains as another in a series of strange experiences that have not been explained.